Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Small Biz Stories. And today, as we do every day, we have a wonderful guest. And as he reminded me, even just before we started the show, that you may not expect things, right? We have preconceived notions, unconscious bias, and we as a society really have to work hard to overcome those biases. And one person here who's working very hard to do that is Luis Angel Torres Rodriguez, who is the founder of the nonprofit Societal Bridge. Hello, Luis.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me today.
Well, as I say, I'm always excited to bring different guests to our show and to our audience because it takes a village, right? All of us as small business owners and entrepreneurs need to lean on each other, but we also need to learn from each other because we've all walked different paths. So, Luis, I always start off, tell our audience what you're really good at.
Uh, So, first, I am really deeply honored to be on this podcast hosted by you. You're just incredible, amazing, and so thank you so much for having me. I have personally benefited from your expertise and your guidance. Just a little backstory, you were so helpful in me establishing a 501(c)(3), which I am so grateful for. Yes. So I'm excited about the amazing things that we're going to continue doing together to change lives and just to create opportunities for folks who really deserve that second chance. So let me just formally introduce myself. My name is Luis Angel Torres Rodriguez, and I am the founder of the Societal Bridge Incorporated. It's a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization based in New Jersey, committed to empowering returning citizens by providing them with the tools and resources and support they need to reintegrate successfully and back into their communities. Um, but our mission in Societal Bridge is really clear. We exist to provide returning citizens with comprehensive employment services, guiding them through the sometimes often overwhelming process of reentry and helping them secure meaningful employment. And by doing this, we aim to reduce recidivism, increase economic stability for the individual and their families, and rebuild a more inclusive community.
Oh, hallelujah to all of that. And so, a couple of things there that I want to just touch on. So, first, how important this is to the state of New Jersey, where you've incorporated, and to the country. I think a testament of that is you applied for nonprofit status, which typically takes 10 to 12 months in current and sort of standard times within New Jersey. You got yours in less than a month. It was
Less than a month,
crazy.
which was surprising, which was really surprising. These are the steps that I've taken for the past year and a half, almost 2 years, working on Societal Bridge. And I was just fortunate um, to be introduced to you, and you just really guided me through the steps, and here we are, and hopefully we can do much more, working together and helping other folks, and establishing their business and growing their business.
Absolutely. And helping others, right, make that impact. And so, a couple of the things again that I wanted to touch on. So, you've used the term reentering citizens. Not everybody in our audience may be familiar with that, but this also speaks to how we opened the podcast about unconscious bias and using labels and things. I'd like you to say to our audience in your own words what re-entering citizens means in plain speak so that people get a sense of who we're dealing with here and what we're talking about today.
That is a great question. So here in New Jersey, we have coined the term returning citizens, which is another term of formerly incarcerated or the system impacted. We thought it was more dignified way of addressing these folks who have a criminal past by referring them as returning citizens. It's a term that has spread throughout New Jersey, and hopefully we can incorporate that throughout the country. I think it's part of the reentry process, part of the reintegration process to um, look at these folks who have made mistakes in their past and want to change their lives, and look at them in a dignified way, in a respectful way. And I think most of them do deserve that. So we refer to them as returning citizens.
Well, that's just it. And I would even argue that all of them deserve that. If they have completed their sentencing, they've done the time, right, for the crime, then they are deserving of it, unless they have exemplified horrific behaviors in prisons and things, but then they're not likely to be paroled or released because they haven't learned. And so you're right, I guess most do. And let's talk about that because you, like most folks and most entrepreneurs, they solve a problem that they've personally felt with. I felt, I should say again. We'll bleep that little part out. Most entrepreneurs solve a problem that they have personally been impacted by. And so, with you in Societal Bridge, Luis, what would you like to tell our audience without me making you uncomfortable or anything, a little bit about your connection to Societal Bridge and why it was so important to you to form this nonprofit?
So I'll tell you, currently, I work for the Department of Corrections. I am also a supervisor at a sports arena, and I'm also a election official in Hudson County in New Jersey. This is all possible because people or agencies gave me a chance, and well deserved. I'm currently also a student at Rutgers University here in Newark, um,
Yay.
um, earning my master's degree in criminal justice. So I say this to say that it is possible because people saw uh, the potential in someone who had the lived experience in the carceral space. And so I'll give you a little background. I understand, excuse me, I understand the challenges of reintegrating into society after incarceration because I lived them. I lived that experience. I spent 30 years in the carceral system, where I heard about the countless individuals struggling to find employment, battling the weight of the stigma associated with having a criminal record, and just being denied the second chances that they desperately, you know, wanted and deserved. So when I came home, I was one of the fortunate ones to have the support system. But unfortunately, most of the folks that come out of the carceral space don't. And I went through most reentry organizations, and I went through their reentry orientation process because I wanted to see what it was like. And most reentry organizations do great work, but unfortunately, they just provide employment information, a sheet of paper, and it's up to the individual to follow up with their interviews, do their resumes. And for someone who has spent 15, 20 years in the carceral space, that's frightening. So I knew that was a problem, and I knew a problem I needed to solve. Um, so the stigma of a criminal record often overshadows their potential. No matter how qualified or motivated these individuals are, it overshadows it. So many of them turn away before even given that chance to prove themselves. This is why I established Societal Bridge to fill that gap. We were we were created to confront the stigma, break down the employment barriers, and to ensure that returning citizens are met with the opportunity and not the obstacles. Through through personalized reentry support, reentry readiness training, this is the kind of stuff that Societal Bridge provides to these folks who are just simply seeking just that second chance that they deserve to be back integrated back into their communities. So we're not just providing recruitment services, employment services, educational services, but we're empowering them to rebuild their lives with, with dignity, with purpose, and a real chance to success.
And this has become more important than ever because the latest statistics show that, are you ready for it? 77 million Americans, that's one in three, have a criminal record. Of course, the criminal offenses vary widely from illegal use of banned substances to murder charges, right? There's the whole gamut, but one in three Americans has a criminal charge. And so we need to find ways as a society to be able to support these folks and also be able to leverage them, right? To help that economic engine grow within our community, the families that they're part of, and just overall our gross domestic product and just contributing and adding value, right, to society and to the world. So when you hear those numbers, does that just make your mission even more important, Luis?
Yet the mission is very important. The mission is very important for several reasons. One, it provides folks who have lived experience with an opportunity to do better in their lives. And it reduces recidivism and it protects our community from folks coming out and reoffending. So it's and then so that's the personal part. In the business side, it provides an employer an opportunity, a cost-effective opportunity to their hiring practice. So it's a win-win for everyone, for not only for the employer, but for the individual coming out who we aim to provide empowerment and it supports our communities. It gives a safer communities. And so this is the mission that we're in, and this is why it's so important and investing in returning citizens.
Yes, I always focus on the triple win, as I like to call it. So it's two forces align, right? In this case, Societal Bridge and nonprofits that are providing support for reentering citizens. Then there's, of course, the win for the citizen who is reentering and motivated to make a difference. And then the impact it has by combining on society. Society wins because we keep our communities safer. We don't pay the tax burdens of supporting these citizens while they are incarcerated. Instead, the person who has re-entered society and re-entered the community is a tax-paying member of the society and helping and doing all of the things to make our communities great. So that's really important, right? The triple win, because wow, the impact it can have if we all thought that way.
Correct. I definitely agree. I know there are many organizations out there that do great work, like I said before. And but one of the many things that stand out about Societal Bridge is that like I said, we're not just providing jobs. We're just creating and changing lives. Um, so the return on our investment in our work is profound. Not only for the individual, as you mentioned, that we serve, but for the community at large, that you just finished talking about. So when we talk about why is it important to invest in our returning citizens? Why is it important to give folks who have some lived experience a second chance at life to better their lives, to better their families' lives, to better our communities, right? So when we empower returning citizens with jobs, we're also helping, we're also helping that whole collective community. And we're strengthening family at the same time. So economically, it's beneficial, not only just for the individual, but it extends to our economy and onto society at large. So I think that part of what we are aimed to do is change the narrative, change the perception about folks who are still hesitant, who are still on the fence about providing that support, about investing in returning citizens. And we want to change that. We want not only just to provide the employer, but to let society at large know that there are folks who really deserve a second chance, who really
For
have
sure.
paid their debt to society and just want to change their lives. And this is where we come in.
And that's right. And through the course of my podcast here on entrepreneurship, we've been at it for a while. We're in season 5 now. We've had 4 guests who have previously been incarcerated and re-entered society, and they're doing things to make a positive impact on their lives, their families' lives, and on society. And I really want to set a little bit of context for our listeners because I think it is really important. So I don't have those lived experiences, but having talked at length to multiple guests who have, here's what they say and what they've experienced. We've all heard or experienced how difficult it is when we leave home in high school. We have all that structure of high school. The parent wakes us up, makes sure we get our breakfast, packs our lunch, gets us on the bus, gets us to school. Then the school does its thing. Oh, you've got this math at the first period, then you've got English second period, whatever. All of the structure. When we go away to college, we don't have that structure. We have to figure it out on our own. We're often in a different town. We're often on a very big campus where you can't even find the building where your math class is or whatever it is. You've got to figure that out. You've got to figure out how to feed yourself, such a clock. And that's very difficult without that structure. And then for those of us that are listening that are entrepreneurs and small business owners, we don't have the playbook, even though we listen to a ton of other podcasts and we read all kinds of stuff. There's no specific path for, hey, you, Laurelyn, this is how you're going to move Steer Us Forward or my nonprofit Helpopedia. There's no path. There's no lights on the runway. You're going in the dark and you're tripping and you're going. Okay, so I set all that up. Can you imagine doing this as somebody who has spent time in prison, has returned to society, doesn't have a support group, doesn't even know where to start, has no structure anymore, and they want to start a business? Wow, right? The level of difficulty is ginormous. And I know that's not a word, but this is where I encourage all of us in society to really think about that contextually, right? Have some empathy and understanding for what it's like for that individual.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying for and I encounter individuals who come out and we assist them in trying to successfully reintegrate and that transformation. But they express their fear is and they don't know, so they need that guidance. They need that guidance that you're talking about, not to hold them or her by the hand, but that guidance and continuous support. And we knew that that was really important. So that's one of the 4 things that stands out when it in terms of reentry organizations and providing that kind of services. So we so on our end as Societal Bridge, we're going to provide that continuous support. So it doesn't end when the individual is hired. So it's what we refer to as post employment support. So we're going to continue to maintain that support to ensure that there are no triggers associated with their post traumatic experiences, that they are getting along with the employer, and that the employer is getting along with our returning citizens, and that their transition into back into the community is a smooth one. So we knew that that was really important because for someone who has spent so many years in incarcerated, they're unfamiliar with the job process, with the employment process. They're unfamiliar with how technology has evolved since the last time they were in the communities. These are all the many factors that they have to overcome, and these are the challenges that they have to overcome. And so imagine the level of pressure of someone who spent decades in the system and now having to come out, and you go through a reentry orientation, and you're provided a piece of paper and it said you're on your own. We knew that was going to be a problem, and Societal Bridge is going to fix that problem, because we want our brothers and sisters to be successful. We're in the mission to change the narrative, to change the perception about folks who are not sure whether they should, waste their time on a returning citizen. And I could tell you, you're not wasting your time. These folks have paid their debt to society. These folks have changed their lives and want better for themselves and for their families. And this is what we encourage, folks who are listening to us today. Businesses, small business, large business, corporations, other reentry grassroots organizations. This is why it's important to come on board with us, to begin the process of changing some folks' lives. And this is what
Right.
we're in the business of doing.
And it is entirely possible. And I think society is so judgy, right? So, for those of you that are having the auditory experience instead of the visual experience on YouTube Midlife Success, Luis is here, fully polished, hair coiffed, beard neatly trimmed. He's in a pressed white shirt and a beautiful tie. And to look, you'd think, wow, this is a professional businessman. He's pursuing graduate studies, master's level at Rutgers. I mean, that's a pretty fancy school. It's awesome. It's one of the state's gems here in New Jersey. And you think, wow, yeah, yeah, great. But you have to open your ear to hear his story and what he's all about. And I think that's part of the problem, that we as society aren't listening. Do you think that that's part of the issue, why the stigma continues, Luis? Is this, and what are you doing to address that, helping your clients?
So before I took the job at the Department of Corrections, I was doing a lot of advocacy work with the ACLU here in New Jersey, other grassroots reentry organizations, and just going out to these venues and getting the opportunity to share my story and to share the importance of investing in returning citizens. And when I walk in a room, um, no one would know where I came from unless I told them. When I was being interviewed for the state job, and I walked into the building, the people who were going to interview me walked by me and said good morning to me, but that was it. They didn't realize that I was the one that was getting interviewed, because this is not what they expected. And so my mission before I even got the job was just that, to show that this is what redemption looks like. This is what change looks like. And I'm one of many examples. I just happen to be eager and enthusiastic to be the face of what change and redemption looks like. And I can tell you that almost every place I have spoken at, they did not know that I was a returning citizen, because this is not what they expected. So I love the reaction. I told the governor, I love your reaction. And I'm sitting, and I told the mayor of Union City, I love your reaction, because you thought I was here to on a official political business, and you didn't know where I came from. But this is
That's
the
right.
reaction I'm looking for, because this is the mission that we're in, to change the perception about returning citizens, and why it's so important just to invest in people who look like me, who are just as equally qualified as anyone else.
That's right. And one out of three Americans, right? One out of three has a criminal record. That's mind boggling. So we need to show a little more kindness and understanding. And also with respect to societal bridge, one of the things that I like in doing my research and preparation for the show and to explore how we can support each other as entrepreneurs is most of the other nonprofits out there offer a directory. Here's a few things, make a few calls. Here's a sample resume. Go do it yourself. Go to the public library, use one of the computers
Terrifying.
there and go figure it out, right? And it doesn't have any of that high touch that's needed or the voice and the heart to talk to someone and say like, "Wow, I'm afraid. Like I'm really unclear. I'm anxious. I don't know what to do. I'm overwhelmed. It's so many things all at once." And I love that you're bringing your vision to this, to Societal Bridge, in a way that really takes the citizen all the way through, step by step by step, but that you don't let go. You keep going, saying, "Are you okay? You're in the job now. Let's keep it. Let's work at keeping this. Let's work at keeping you healthy. Let's work at keeping you focused. Let's work at keeping you here on the outside, right? We're here. We're not going to let you go." And I think that's highly unusual in the field that you're in, given what some of the other nonprofits in the same space do. So I want to commend you on that.
Thank you. Definitely, I think that is a crucial part of the process, of the reintegration process that unfortunately not many reentry organizations provide.
Right.
And I think we are going to fill that gap because it's an important gap to be filled.
Oh, yes. And I think it just positions the clients that you support for greater success because you've got that hand holding throughout their journey just to really
Yes.
get them on solid foundation and enable them to be independent. So, as we're wrapping up here, Luis, how can people find you or Societal Bridge? Where do they go?
So, really quickly, um, I just for your listeners and for your viewers, it is important to not only just listen to my story, but listen to the many countless stories of individuals who just want simply a second chance and feel inspired by that, right? So we invite you to get involved, whether that's through financial donations or making us employer connections or or just simply sharing our stories or having a platform to share our stories. Every contribution in our mission counts. So you can find us through societalbridge.org, it's a website. You can email me at societalbridge24 at gmail.com. You can call me directly at 201 546 6143. You can also contact Ms. Laura Lynn um, as Steer Us, and we will she can connect um, you with us. And I think that today is a huge step in making a huge impact in folks' lives on both sides. Of course, on the individual and the returning citizen side, and making a huge impact on your listeners and all your viewers who I hope are inspired to get involved in our mission.
At the very least, and not to trivialize what you've just done, but I've had 234 guests. No one has ever shared their cell phone. So that in itself should inspire people to be brave, step up, lean into entrepreneurship, and find ways to help each other. All right, Luis, last question. Not related to Societal Bridge. This is about you, your personality. It's my signature question. If we could look into your closet, so we know we see there's suits and ties and shirts and all that stuff, but I'm interested in shoes. I love shoes. If there was a pair of shoes or boots that you took out of your closet that said, "These are Luis Angel Torres Rodriguez," what are we looking at? Describe them for our audience.
I went I went to the Bronx and I was walking through a shoe store and I saw a pair of sneakers that were um, wrapped up, or it's a flag. It's a sneakers with a Puerto Rican flag, and it has Puerto Rican all over it. It is an elaborate, vibrant pair of sneakers that I bought, and I love them. And one day I will share a picture of that with you. That is my favorite pair of shoes in my collection, in my huge collection of shoes.
Perfect. See, that's what we love hearing, right? It's all like we all have some pair of shoes, something that identifies with our personality, aligns with it. Like I'm a glitter girl, right? It's all about like it's denim, but it's sparkles, right? Denim and rhinestones. Why not? So, with that, listeners, thank you so much for being part of the story here today with Luis, who's shared his personal story and his commitment to helping change the lives of reentering citizens through his incredible work at Societal Bridge. Thank you, Louise.
Thank you so much for having me again. This was a great opportunity here today to share my story and hopefully to inspire some folks in our commitment to making a difference, and to all your listeners, and your viewers, of course, we encourage you to reach out to us and be part of the amazing work we're going to do and we're going to continue doing.
Indeed, because you've inspired me, Luis. Entrepreneurship is not easy. You add all the complexity that you bring to it with your background, and wow, right? You have shown the world that you can do hard things, and that should be inspiration for all of us walking this path of entrepreneurship. Thank you, Luis.
Thank you so much for having me.